Okay, so in the video blogs we put up, you've seen Nancy working with the sheep and the chickens, and one of the structures that we have for both the sheep and chickens is this sort of a dome-shaped utility animal house. And we chose this one because it's really easy to build, and they're light. You can move them around. It actually, the design originally came from Steve Skelton from Kentucky State University, Jackie Jacob and Tony Pescator at University of Kentucky. You can find it on the internet, making a hoop pen for pasture poultry. So it's basically a chicken tractor, but we use it for sheep, or we can just use it for just about anything. And so we've got 2 of these right now, but we've got more sheep, which is really exciting. So we need to have more of these structures so we can have our sheep in different pastures. And also, as we increase the number of chickens we get, we're going to need to build several more of these. So let's take a look at the other side. Okay, so from this side you can see a little bit about how it's constructed. There's actually a cattle panel that creates the hoop. We've got hardware cloth over that to create a protective layer to make sure we don't get any small pests that can fit in between the I think it's 4 by 6 inch holes in the cattle panels. And of course we put plastic over it to keep it warm during the winter. So if you come inside, you can see that there's a wood frame around the bottom, and then there's wood cross pieces that hold the cattle panels up. Ah, hey, look at what you've got in there. So this one we customized for chickens, but in the one we use for our sheep is a little bit simpler because you don't really need to put anything inside it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through some of the major steps in building this. I'm sure just about anybody could do it if you download the plans from the internet. And I guess the last piece is that as you're putting it together, you need to put a door frame on one side. And in this particular chicken tractor, we just used a regular screen door as a way of getting in and out. The one we're building today is going to be used by sheep first, so we're not going to put a door on it, which makes it a much quicker project. It takes a little bit longer to get the door all lined up. Okay, well, let's keep walking back to our construction site. Okay, so this is the beginning of the base of the chicken tractor. I've already done some of the work yesterday. What I did was I cut 2x4s into 101-inch sections, and there's 5 of them. You need 5 101-inch 2x4s. One of them you rip down the middle, and then you attach it to 2 of the other 2x4s to make a L-shaped 2x4. This is because this is how we connect the base to the cattle panel, is using this groove right here. And it's very simple, just a few screws are enough to hold this what I call a rail against the other 2x4. The first one we built it on the ground, but you spend a lot of time on your knees that way, so we decided to splurge and buy a few stands for little sawhorses so we can do it up in the air and spare our knees a little bit. Okay, and the reason that these are cut to 101 inches is it just turns out that the width of 2 cattle panels together comes out pretty close to 101 inches. These are the cattle panels over here. So these panels are, I believe they're 16 feet long and 4 feet wide. Pretty standard. Okay, so in addition to the 5 101-inch 2x4s for the base, we also need two 72-inch 2x4s for the vertical beam that holds up each end of the cattle panel, each end of the hoop. And then, in addition to that, we need angled pieces that go on the four corners to strengthen the base. And so they're 28 inches long, but cut at 45 degrees at each end. And I'll demonstrate that in a second. And I want to say too that doing this project is a lot faster with a cutoff saw, like this Ryobi that I have, especially for the angled pieces. But it's even good just for the straight sections. It's a lot faster than using a skill saw, which is probably in my imagination, it's a little bit more dangerous to use these. So I think it's faster and safer to use a cutoff saw if you have a choice. So to make the angled cuts, you just set it at 45 degrees in the direction you want to go. Unfortunately for this project, really none of the dimensions are that critical. You can be within about an eighth or an eighth of an inch, and it doesn't really affect the how the pieces come together. So it makes it a lot easier and it's faster for building it that way. So I'm going to cut off the first corner, and I should say that what I've done is I've gone through, and although the saw will guarantee that I get my 45-degree angle, I've gone through and drawn the 45-degree line on this beam as you go down here at each place I want to cut, because sometimes it's easy to get confused when you do it and end up with the cuts in the wrong direction. But it's a lot easier just to lay it out.
When putting this video together, we had a problem with the iPad running out of memory. We got that figured out. Next, you'll see us putting the base of the sheep shed together.
Basic structure together. We've got the hoops on. The next step is to fasten the two hoops together and to secure them at the base. And I'll show you how we do that. There's a lot of different ways to do it. One way that works pretty well is just with baling wire. If you cut a piece of baling wire, you can wrap it around a joint like this. And then bend the ends over, because it's important, because we'll be putting tarps over this and you don't want it to rip. So that'll hold very securely. So if you just do a few of these joints over the top, it'll hold it together. And then the other thing that we're going to do is to secure it at the base, I have it's like a kind of roofing screw and a driver for it.
Next, we secure the wire onto the base, and then we tie the two pieces of cattle panel together. I'll make a second half of this series about building a chicken tractor sheep shed so you can see the rest of the process. Please like this video. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thank you very much for watching.